Good afternoon, everybody. I am extending my grateful gratitude to Diet Alapura, especially PhD Senior Lecturer Sri Kumar sir, and principals of all the TTIs, diets, faculties, teacher educators, and my dear some four students. ESA question papers are ready for all subjects, and a draft schedule of the time schedule of the examination is also with the diet principles. But I believe that the government has to, or department has to declare officially the dates of examination. And anyway, I congratulate Diet Alapura for organizing such a online classes for SEM 2 and SEM 4 students who are appearing for the end semester examinations. And today's session is about semester 4, paper 404, professional development of English teaching. You know, there are 4 units. Today, I will discuss about the important points of Unit 1 and Unit 2. Unit 1, you know, advantages of planning, advantages of planning of lessons, and the second unit, continuous professional development. Today, we will deal with first 2 units. Let us see which are the advantages of planning of lesson. You know, any teacher is a pedagogue. Pedagogue means scientist. Scientist is the seeker of truth. We know all. What is the way of science? It should be carefully planned, systematically progressing one. Scientist is the person who seeks the truth. For seeking the truth, he must adopt a certain method of inquiry. And for that, he should have a thorough plan with it. So, let us discuss in detail the advantages of planning. A pedagogue, he is a scientist, I told you, he is the scientist of teaching or artist of teaching young students. So, as a facilitator, as a teacher, as a democratic leader, planning is very important because it gives a sense of direction. Planning is very important because it gives a sense of direction. It focuses attention on objectives and outcomes to be realized. Which are the outcomes to be realized after completing this unit or after completing this textbook or after completing this course book? It's very important. And it establishes a basis for proper management. And as a teacher and as a scientist, he must anticipate for the problems. There may be some problems when we started the class, there were some technical problems. And we should anticipate the problems and cope with the changes. And it gives the teacher to way for decision making also. It serves as a prerequisite to employ all other linked activities with the unit. When we think about the planning, we must remember certain points. First one, aims. Which are the goals of this lesson? The teacher should know. We know it is an outcome-based curriculum. We know all units have certain specified learning outcomes. The learning outcomes we know observable, measurable, achievable. And teacher should know which are the specific learning outcomes prescribed for this particular unit. Second is variety. Variety it is an important way of getting and keeping the students engaged, interested in the learning process. You know, our curriculum is learner-centered curriculum. Learner is the center point or pivotal point of the teaching learning process. So, how can I engage the students? How can I make them interested in the learning process? It's very important. That point is flexibility. Experienced teachers have the ability to manage when things go wrong. It is useful when planning to build some extra and alternative tasks to the students. So As a prospective teacher, as an experienced teacher, we should have a thorough knowledge of these three things: aims, flexibility, and the outcomes, etc. So, variety, aims, variety, and flexibility. Now, we will switch on to the principles of planning. What do the new students know already? What is their entry behavior? What do the students need to know? For the based on the same content area, what do the students need to know? What did you do with the students in the previous class? Teacher should know what is their entry behavior. What was the previous class? What was the level of the students after the previous class? How will the students do the classwork together? And how motivated are the students? So, very importantly, we must know the learner well. Then only we can make a learner-centered class really learner-centered. So their previous knowledge, what is they are going to learn, what was the outcome of the previous lesson, how well they engaged in the class, and how motivated are they. These are the questions. Another simple area is why planning is so important. Because it enables the teacher to make sure that the lesson is a balanced one, providing opportunity for all the learners without any kind of discrimination. The lesson is balanced and it is appropriate in various aspects. And the planning gives the teacher a self-confidence for an effective transaction. How can I make my transaction better? It gives the teacher a self-confidence, the planning is. And of course, planning is a professionalism. We know teacher is a professional. So we must be professional in our approach also. Thorough planning is very important. Another one, we have a curriculum. Curriculum, we know it is the total design of the experiences that expected to get in a prescribed course, or the totality of or the comprehensive experiences that a learner should get inside and outside the classroom. From curriculum, we develop syllabus, and from the syllabus, we develop course book. We know the textbook is known in English is known as course book, and there is a teacher's source book or teacher text is there. In course book, what is the definition? In a period, we were thinking that it is the one and only material in the class. But now the concept has been changed. It is the prominent one among the many materials to achieve the LO. A learner will be available with a lot of materials for achieving the LO. And among them, a good course book is the prominent one. It has a clear structure, and we know LOs are observable, measurable, and achievable. The learners are expected to achieve this through the course book. When I told you in the beginning that pedagogic analysis is very important for the comprehensive unit planning, CUP is very important. And a pedagogue is always analyzing systematically the class before he is going to take that class. So he must have some answers. He must ask himself certain questions to himself or herself. Let us analyze which are those questions. Why should I teach this unit? What are the objectives of teaching this unit? It's a basic question the teacher should ask himself or herself. And you know which is the answer? Simply we can say learning outcomes. The learners, all the learners without any kind of discrimination, they should achieve all the learning outcomes meant for the unit, prescribed for the unit. Then the second question, in this unit, what should I teach? The answer is the content area. And a very important question is the third question, how should I teach? That means, which are the most effective learning strategies that I can adopt in this class? So many methods, techniques are there, strategies are there. And among them, which is the most suitable, I can make use in this particular class. So it is a pedagogue who designs and decides what should be the strategy that, which is the most effective strategy that I can make use for this particular class. And another thing I told you, there are so many materials for transacting this material, this unit effectively. Amongst them, which are the materials that I can make use for particular class? Is it clear? Okay. So the TLM, we may say like the teaching learning materials. Which are the TLMs that I can make use to effectively teach this class? And another important basic question, we know we are focusing more on continuous assessment rather than term assessment. So how can I know the effect? The teacher is a reflective practitioner. He should or she should always ask herself, how can I know the effect of my class? How far it is good? How well I could done? How well students achieve the learning outcome? How all the learners get benefited by this unit? So how can I know the effect? And last question, what should I do further? So any lesson, any unit should have some follow-up activities, because there are two objectives, or we may say that there are some operational objectives as well as some nurturant objectives. Operational objectives, you can observe them in the real class itself. Nurturant means it will be seen after a period. So continuous assessment is very, very important. You know all the assessment units about the, in philosophy also you have studied well, assessment as learning, assessment for learning, and assessment of learning. Of course, these things are there. Assessment as learning and assessment for learning are taking place within the classroom. So the learner himself assesses his process. Learner understand his advantages. Learner become aware of his limitations, his excellences and his limitations, his positives and his negatives. Then the teacher should also know which are the positives, which are the negatives of each and every learner. And she herself should know what are my difficulties, my deformities in transacting the unit effectively. Then what should I do further? What should be the follow-up of this unit is another important question. So as a pedagogue, pedagogic analysis has some advantages also. You know, whenever you are writing a teaching manual and you give importance to, teacher can take steps to motivate students. If there is no motivation, no learner will be engaged in learning. So teacher can take steps to motivate the students. How? Which are the techniques to motivate the students? Sometimes you start with the picture. Sometimes a thought-provoking question. Sometimes narration about an incident or event or anything like that. Sometimes you may be quoting or showing a photograph or a cartoon. The teacher, how can you motivate the students to the unit? How can you lead effectively all the students to the unit? The question. It helps the teacher to adopt learner-centered instruction. I told you our curriculum is learner-centered. The learner's features, his learning style, his learning pace, his learning difficulties, everything should be taken into consideration. Then only a teacher can make a pedagogic analysis a better one. It makes the instructional program more systematic and content appropriate. The instructional program must be so systematic, especially in language and core subject classes. The systematic progress of any class is inevitable for the successful completion, successful achievement of the learning outcomes prescribed for that particular class. Then the pedagogic analysis helps the teacher to design a plan of action for more immediate feedback, diagnosis, and remediation. We know which are the learning problems of the students. Is there any learning issue while transacting this? How can I remediate that? So diagnosis and remediations are very, very important, and it is of course reflected through feedback. And from the feedback itself or feedbacks themselves, the teachers can diagnose. And after diagnosis, we can measure, remediate. We can take remedial measures to address those issues. It helps the teacher to implement proper evaluation procedure. Sometimes there may be some evaluation procedure suggested in the unit by the curriculum or textbook writers, but a prospective teacher can find out more evaluation techniques, evaluation methods, assessment techniques, etc., etc. So another area I want to stress is concept mapping. You know about concept mapping. It is very well given in the EVS SEM 1 and SEM 2 concept mapping in science. When we say about it, it is simply a technique or process for representing knowledge in graphs. Knowledge are networks of concepts. Networks consist of nodes, certain points or vertices, and links are there. So concepts are points or nodes and links. Node presents the concepts and link represents the relation between the concepts. There will be a major concept, sub-concepts may be there, and how they are linked, related. It will be used, it will be graphed by linkers. So concepts, in a concept map, nodes are there, links are there. Nodes represent the content area, the theme or the subject or the major concept. And the linkers reflect the relation between the concept. What are the purposes of concept mapping? This is an important area. In a language class, which are the purposes? We know, I told you, if you want to engage the learner in a very well manner, we must ask them questions. We are trying to elicit responses from them. For generating ideas, for generating concepts, brainstorming is very important. It is a technique to brain your storms. And questions are very important for storming the brains. Then only they will come up with the thinking, and the cognitive process will become vibrant, and they will report with their ideas, etc. It designs a complex structure. To design a complex structure, we know a concept map helps to design a complex structure. Sometimes there may be long text, hypermedia will be there, large websites, etc. And to communicate complex ideas, concept map simplifies communication. And it aids learning by explicitly integrating new and old knowledge. I told you about prerequisite, the entry behavior of the students and the terminal behavior of the class after our class is over. Then what is the linkage between these pre-ideas or prerequisites and the new achievements, new acquisitions, etc. So link between the new knowledge and the old knowledge, we can simplify it. And to assess or understand or diagnose and misunderstanding. The learners may have some understandings or misunderstandings. We can clarify, we can address their understanding and diagnose their misunderstanding through concepts. Another, we know, I told you about comprehensive unit plan. Now I am shifting to the benefits of micro lesson plan. You know, macro and micro. Micro is more simple, very small micro. Micro planning is very important as far as a teacher is concerned. We know lesson plan, and we call it as teaching manual. I proposed the 6 questions in the beginning. A pedagogue should ask himself or herself. Here also, in a unit, in a micro planning, for a period of 1 hour or 45 minutes, whatever it may be, the teacher must ask the 6 questions. They are, why should I teach in this unit? Or in this class? What should I teach in this class? How should I teach in this class? Which are the strategies that I can adopt? What materials are with me to make my class more effective? And how can I know the effect in this class? Through assessment as learning and assessment before learning. Which are the methods of assessment I can adopt in this classroom? How can I make a peer assessment? So, lesson planning help. And also there, the assessment technique as well as the follow-up activities. So let me simplify it in a more simple way. When you ask the 6 basic questions about a unit, the whole unit, it will become the pedagogic analysis. And if you are planning for a single period, it becomes the teaching plan. And formerly it was called as lesson plan. Still, some of the teachers are using lesson plan, but we technically or nowadays we call it as teaching manual. And so I wish to cover up all these areas: principles, advantages of planning, principles, pedagogic analysis, advantages of pedagogic analysis, what is concept mapping, what is in a node or in a concept map represent, what does the linker in a concept map represent, which are the purposes of concept mapping, and benefits of micro lesson planning. And these areas are very importantly given in the first unit. And if you have any questions related to this, you can share it to me to any appropriate media, social media. So now I would like to switch over to continuous professional development. I told you the teacher is a reflective practitioner. He must reflect upon his transactional capabilities. How well I can transact. And he should reflect upon his excellences, his limitations, his merits, his demerits. So he should be a reflective practitioner, always looking into his professional capability, professional status, how successful I am in teaching. So reflective teaching means always reflecting upon, your body, your face is reflected by a mirror, and you can make your face more beautiful. You can apply powder, you can whatever you may use to make you up. So like that, a professional should always reflect upon by a mirror what is better in me, what is not better. I could find out the better and not better components of my class, and a teacher will be a reflective practitioner because he is a professional. Teacher is a reflective practitioner because he is a professional. So teacher gives freedom to move from routine. A routine teacher can do simply like what regularly coming, doing something like that, what she likes or not. And impulsive action, routine to impulsive action, making the learners more motivated and to be engaged in the learning process. And reflective teaching becomes more teacher to become more confident in their actions and decisions. I told you a prospective teacher should be a confident teacher. A reflective teacher should be a confident teacher. Then only she can make a class more interesting and effective. And it provides more necessary information for teachers to make informed decisions. So what should I do? Suppose such a problem is rising in my class, what should I do? And a teacher should have some references with various components related to the content area that she is going to deal with. So it provides necessary information for teachers to make informed decisions. It helps the teacher to reflect critically on all aspects of their work. Okay? I emphasize the word critically. Don't be never satisfied with your transactional strategies. Always reflect upon you, whether my method is very fine, okay, to the students. Sometimes all teachers, or 70%, about 70% teachers, we are all very okay. We are the best teachers in this world. But it is not the fact like that. And in the IT-based online platform, the learners are equipped more. And I do believe that there is no need of a teacher in forthcoming future, because they are supplied with the new latest information related to any field, and the teacher should tune up in accordance with the needs, in accordance with the facilities available for the learner. The learner will browse, or he may check the genuineness or the truth, what you are saying a truth or not, or your point is right or wrong. He can point out immediately. The teacher should change. It has to reflect practically. Then only you can make your practice very learner friendly and acceptable one. It helps teachers to develop strategies for intervention and change. Teacher should always in a state of flux. He must be ready to change. It recognizes that the teachers are professional. A professional development is very, very important. And this is the illustration given in your source book. What are the perspective to 10 things teachers want for professional development? And some spelling errors are there. I took this presentation from the teacher's source book. Teachers want this PD is professional development. Teachers wants a voice and choice in the professional development. Teacher wants professional development because that is relevant for their students. Because I told you they are updated and the teachers will be outdated. So update yourself, otherwise you will be outdated. Teacher, so also teacher want professional development. Teachers want professional that is conducted by professionals with professional classroom experience. It's very important. And it is innovative and creative. I told you it's for a change. It is for novelty. It is for something which hadn't happened. So that is innovation, a progressive one, a newer one, a novel one. And teachers want professional development that makes them better teachers. I told you, we are teachers are in a shift. We must be more and more professional. Then only we will exist as teachers. Otherwise, we will be outthrown from the classrooms. Teachers want professional development that is practical, not theoretical. And our education system is tremendously supplied with professional things. Theoretical components, but it may not be so practical. So, professional development, a professional should always be a practicable person. A practical believes in practical pedagogical skills. Teachers want professional development that allows them to collaborate and speak honestly. Because you know about multi-specialty hospitals, various disciplines, doctors of various disciplines, they are sitting together, thinking together, collaborating together, sharing together. And we should develop a culture because collaboration will definitely improve our what we call the professional status. So collaborate and speak honestly. Honesty is a very important practice. Teachers want professional development that will be relevant for a long time. Because a professional should always be a professional. It never ends. It is in a state of flux. It is always changing progressively. Teachers want admin to attach our participants participate in the professional development session. Of course, the teacher should think about the development of career development process. And as far as teachers are concerned, they should seek all the possible ways to improve their career. So career development helps the adaptation. I told you this unit is about the professional development, continuous professional development of a teacher. So career development helps the adaptation to the changing nature of work. We know this academic year, government has started, a department has started online classes from June 1st itself. And now it is in the second stage. Each and every learner of Kerala is provided with the facilities for online education. And there is a systematic progress of these online classes. Everybody is collaborating to make online classes a successful one. And Kerala is evolving a very enthusiastic model for online classes. Even Supreme Court admires or praised the state government for this implementation of online courses for a larger group of students in this state. It is just a model for even for the world. It is an enchanting model. So career development aids in the management and management of manpower requirements. We know our requirements, we know the manpower, and we adjust the manpower and the requirements. It is professionalism. And Of course, various agencies are conducting the courses. You know that the diet is conducting in service courses, workshops, educational conferences, seminars. Even now, we are in an online platform. I am interacting with you. You are listening to my words. You can participate in such courses. Any course will give you information. And there are agencies. Our state education authority, CRT is there. District education authority, that is diet is there, and faculties are there, teacher educators are there, and you make use of all the resources, all the sources that you can improve yourself. You attend workshops, education, webinars. You know, nowadays it is webinar, online, various online platforms are there. In Buddha College also, we are conducting a lot of online classes for DLED students, BF students, and ML students. We conduct webinars regularly, workshops on online platform, in various online media. Visit other schools. Another important thing, you can visit to nearby schools. Participate in the professional associations of teachers. There are professional associations, you know, so many science training teachers are there. Association of teachers, formal and informal associations of teachers are there, and they participate. You just try to visit the schools and attach with the professional associations of teachers. You can improve yourself. You can make your own what we know. You will become aware of what are happening in nearby schools. You refer to journals. Even by diet, we published Jyoti, and we were trying to disseminate some of the important things, some of the important activities that have taken place in our schools, in leading schools. We are sharing the excellences of those schools. So read such journals and educational periodicals, everything. And conduct of peer observation is another important thing. And reads professional literatures. So many educational literatures are available. And e-media, you make use of e-reading as a habit. Tremendous abundance of materials are online. You can refer to. Another important area is peer observation. You know, peer means same age group. What are the features of peer observation? Informal, developmental and formative, intentional can be ongoing, systematic and voluntary. It's very voluntary one. Your friend will observe your features, and you know about your criticism classes or analysis classes. The teacher will take that class, or the student teacher will take that class. Your colleagues, your classmates will observe your classes, and they will critically go through your classes through observation. Your teacher educators will say comments, positives and negatives, and this, if it is done by a peer or your classmate, it will be informal, it will be developmental, it will be intentional, can be ongoing, etc. Novice teachers can see, learn and more from experienced teachers. Suppose you are going to other schools and you are observing classes of experienced teachers, you can see and learn more from them because they are experienced teachers. Their experiences will be a treasure for you. Experienced teachers can get a more objective view on their performances because they are having so much experiences with it. See how other colleagues deal with the same issues in a different way. Sometimes you are a unique teacher, you may not be tackling an issue with your friend is doing like that. So each teacher is unique, and she must be capable of addressing the issues in different ways. Discover effective strategies, a very important point. As a teacher, as a prospective teacher, you can find out innovative, effective learning strategies. You discuss problems and concerns with your colleagues, your teachers, your teacher educators, and practicing teachers. You can discuss problems and your concerns. Share an idea with the expertise also. You can ask experts through any media. And you get feedback from your peers, your classmates. How was I in the class? Was it good? Was it effective? Where did I go wrong? These questions, and easily you get feedback from your peers. And you can develop a self-awareness on one's own teaching. Your own, how far, how well I am in teaching. how well I am in doing continuous assessment, how well I am in making use of teaching learning materials, how well I am in adaptation for CWS in children. So these are the important features of building collegiality in schools. It will be a culture sharing and collaborating. Okay. Now another important area is action research for continuous professional development. I told you a professional is a reflective practitioner. He always reflect upon his strategies, her strategies. Why action research? You know, action research gives educated. You have gone through, or you have conducted action researches in your school, practicing schools, or in your observation schools. It is actually action research you might be studied in different syllabus of this DLED curriculum itself. Action research gives educators or teachers new opportunities to reflect and assess their teaching. It is very important. And to explore and test new ideas. I told you, if you are a successful teacher, you will seek, you will test new ideas, new methods, new materials, new techniques, etc. to assess how effective the new approaches were. And you can reflect upon the strategies itself. You share feedback with fellow team members. Suppose you are going to a school by your 5-member group, you can share feedback with them. When you did an action research in mathematics in class 3, this was my experience. Then you do it in your class. How could you tackle the issues? How could you find out positive solutions for the problems, etc. To make decisions about these new approaches in the practice. So, which are the objectives of action research? It is an important area, maybe for your ESA. To develop research-oriented skills, I told you a teacher should be a self-researcher and a co-researcher also. So, research-oriented skills will be improved and it will be useful for classroom inquiry. To gain deeper understanding of your teaching learning process, to bring about changes in the classroom teaching learning process. Of course, a monotonous repetition may hinder the students' interest. So what should we do? We think about bringing out new and newer teaching learning strategies to make the student teachers confident in doing action research as a part of student teachers should become more confident in this process, and you can take up your own action researches with the help of your teacher educators. You can do the action researches successfully. In about 50 action researches were done successfully completed in last academic year at Alappuzha. About 47 or 48 teachers submitted the report of their action research, and it is very important for you can go through the findings, process they adopted, etc., etc. You can go through the reports and you can address any issue that you are confronted with in the classroom. So it is very helpful for you. Which are the characteristics? Let us see which are the characteristics of action research. It is simple, so specific and time-saving and more economic, more useful. It involves careful and systematic gathering of information on classroom problems. You can definitely find problems, whether it is in addition or in subtraction or in multiplication. Which are the area the students are finding difficulties? You can carefully observe, systematically gather information in the classroom. If they are more problem with reading, if they have more problem with writing, which are the issues they are confronting with, they are suffering with. So we can find out the important issues in the class, and you can help the students for addressing those issues, provide successfully addressing those issues and find solutions, solving those issues. It is an emergent process which may take shape as understanding increases. It is an emergent. I told you about emerging your professionalism. It is an interactive process which converges towards a better understanding of what happens. It is an interactive process. You can share. I told you about sharing through action researchers, reading of research reports, etc. It converges towards a better understanding of what happens. It is participative and qualitative. You will be benefited both sides. In the content part, you will be improving. In the methodological part also, you will be becoming more and more qualitative. It involves a kind of follow-up actions. Suppose you are succeeded in a first phase of action research, you can improve, you can switch over to the follow-up actions. And it involves some kind of follow-up actions. You can design, what should I do further? What are the, which are the activities that I can make use in the class? Next. It is a localized research and its findings have no wider application. The result, the application is strictly confined to your particular class. It may not be applicable or useful for a second division also. So it is totally confined to that particular class only. So very important. That is why I told you it is a localized research and its findings have no wider application. The findings are fully owned by practitioners rather than research community. So it is not a fundamental research. So it is an action research for you. Your particular problem, you are finding solution for a particular problem in your class. It is owned by practitioners or teachers rather than the research community. So so many steps. You know, Stephen Covey has advocated for the educational research, action research in education, and there are various authors suggesting different steps in action research. Any view or any version can be confined or summarized as like this. It is helpful for identifying the problem. I told you, action research is a systematic process to the classroom practitioner, the teacher identifies some of my students are lagging with some kind of problems. Some of my students are not able to do some areas. Some of my people are not well in writing. Some of the people in my class is not able to do the experiments well. Some of the people are not confident in their loud reading. Sometimes some students are not able to pronounce well. And these may be some of the problems in you face in the language class and subject class, etc. Sometimes they are not able to write a project report. Sometimes they are not able to write discourses properly. Sometimes they are not able to edit their discourses. These are the certain problems that you may come across. And you must focus or dealing with the problem. What is the actual problem? In which class? In which subject? In which area? In which subtopic? And which skill? And which particularly delimited. Focus and a tunnel vision is very important. And after fixing the problem, you will choose the method of data collection, which is the most important, most useful method for your data collection. And you will collect the data using those methods and techniques. And you will arrange the data. You collect the data, you record the data, and you will analyze and interpreting the data, and you will develop some action plans or action hypothesis. Based on the action hypothesis, you will develop some action plans. After doing that, you will implement the action plan one by one, activities suggested in the action plan one by one, and you will be able to do it successfully. Sometimes your implementation may not be resulted positively. Be confident that an action research may not be always a successful one. That particular action research may collapse. The result may get positive, not negative. Sometimes it may go wrong. In such situation, a reflective practitioner, a professional teacher will attempt for the second cycle till the problem is addressed, till the problem is solved. So sometimes your action plan will be a successful one, or what we call a true action hypothesis. Sometimes it may be a null hypothesis. Don't worry about it. And action research is always positive. always reflective. These two types. A progressive teacher should be always reflective, always positive. And after conducting your action research, you will write the report. For reporting also, there are so many ways of so many formats for reporting the report of action research. Narrative styles are there, analytical styles are there, descriptive styles are there. So many different styles of reporting are there. The areas of action research in languages. We know that students, the objectives of teaching any language is development of fundamental skills. You know, receptive skills and productive skills. Receptive skills are listening and reading. Productive skills are reading, speaking, and writing. All these four fundamental skills must be developed in any language class. Second is development of language elements. You know, we want to make the learner learn about the language, also learn about the salient features of the language, that the grammatical aspects. So language elements is another area. You know, our pedagogy is discourse oriented pedagogy. They are expected, students are at various classes are expected to develop discourses on their level, and those discourses should have such qualities. And we have some specific grading indicators for measuring, assessing the quality of the discourses that produced. Narrations are there, conversations, uh, descriptions, diary entries, so many different types discourses are expected to be completed by the students. They can improve the their discourses writing. Strategies and techniques for teaching and learning. You can do action research, whether you are saying the rhyme, you taking a simple one. All teachers are not saying the rhyme in a proper manner. You can, even in your classroom, your colleagues, your classmates are reciting poems in different styles. So the strategies and techniques for teaching and learning. And TLM, I told you, suppose, how are you going to use the multimedia in your class? How are you going to use the social media in your class? How are you going to use the resources in your classes? So use of TLM and its effects or outcomes are another area for action research. Teaching grammar and vocabulary. We know we are not teaching grammar. Grammar should not be taught, but it is caught. See, it is very important. Teachers should be use of grammar. Teach. How do you teach grammar as the curriculum demands? Forms of assessment that its effects. We know we focus more on continuous professional development, and action researches is a very important area for developing your professionalism. And action research, we told more about. Another one is peer observation. I told you about what is peer observation, what are the advantages, why is career development necessary as professionals, why do we improve our career, and especially in a context of students which are very becoming well versed in digital skills and well versed in digital resources. How can a teacher like this for a long time? How can you pull on yourself as like for a long time? So these are the very important questions, and participate, which are the various techniques or methods to improve your professionalism. Participation in service course, workshops, education conference, reading professional literature like journals, peer observations, visiting other schools, etc. It's very important. And you are joining with the professional association. So many professional associations of teachers are here in Kerala now. Learn uh, so many Tech Malappuram, learning teachers. So many successful teacher associations are there, and their groups are there. You can associate with those. You can share their resources for improving yourself, and you can conduct peer observation. You can freely and very confidently interact with your peers for improvement, and you can take up action researches. And I told you about the different reasons for becoming a professional one. So these are very important things. These 10 things I told you, and always be a reflective teacher. Then only you will become professionals. And today, I think it is better to stop this class now. And tomorrow we will take up the. We will go through the third and fourth unit. Thank you all for listening me patiently, and I extend my sincere gratitude to principal and faculty members of DIET Alapura for inviting me to deliver this presentation, and I really thanking you all who attended my speech. Thank you. Thank you.